Marcus, why do you keep avoiding me? The words hung heavy. In the charged October air of Diana Calloway's office, a wall of glass framed Charlotte's gleaming towers behind her. She had chosen the chairs by the window on purpose. Less desk, less distance, more human. It stripped away my usual defenses, left me nowhere to run. I looked at her, really looked, at the woman who had walked into my firm 8 months earlier as CEO and rendered me utterly breathless, and the only truth I had left was a blade. Because looking at you hurts. She didn't fire me. She didn't laugh. She simply leaned back. Those gray eyes, so vivid in my dreams, meeting mine without flinching. Then maybe it's time you told me why I was Marcus Webb. 38, Senior Project Manager. 11 years at Callaway and Associates. I'd survived recessions, mergers, leadership overhauls. I thought I knew what survival felt like. Then Diana Calloway arrived, and I learned surviving isn't the same as being okay. For 8 months, I perfected invisibility. Blueprint rooms, laptop screens, stairwell emergencies. My colleagues noticed. Patricia Chen in HR definitely noticed, but no one asked. Diana did. Her office smelled of fresh coffee and a faint, unsettling floral scent. Gold light lay in bars across the floor between us. My gaze trained to slide past her snagged, then held, and then the familiar tilt began. The world dropping, rearranging itself around a face it had no right to wear. Dark hair pulled back, a small scar above her left eyebrow, those gray eyes that shifted silver in certain light. The slight tilt of her head when she listened, patient, unflinching. She was exactly, terrifyingly, the woman the paramedics had carried out of my kitchen 18 months ago. You look like my wife. The words came out a raw rasp. Diana went still. The silence grew thick, oppressive. My late wife, Elena. She died 18 months ago. No warning. You have her eyes, her laugh, the way you hold your head. My voice broke. Every time I see your face, I see hers. And I couldn't do that and keep functioning. So I stopped looking. Diana's hands folded in her lap, tightened slowly, knuckles white. Your wife's name was Elena. Her voice was a new frequency, a tremor I felt more than heard. Elena Webb. Before that, Elena Calloway. I watched devastation spread quietly across her face. From Savannah, raised by adoptive parents who passed before she was 30, the air thinned. She stood, walked to the window, pressed one hand flat against the glass. Her shoulders rose on a slow, deliberate breath, then fell on something that sounded beneath all her CEO composure, like a woman trying not to shatter. When she turned, her face was cracked open, raw, devastated, in a way that mirrored my own wound, because Elena Calloway is my sister. The ground beneath me. 18 months of careful construction gave way. Grief, I learned, can fall in directions you never knew existed. She stood there, tears carving silent tracks down her face, telling me the woman I'd loved was her sister. We were separated when I was 5. My father took me. My mother took Elena to Savannah, then put her up for adoption. One morning, my sister was simply gone. 20 years she'd searched. 3 years ago, a DNA registry, Elena Calloway, she'd found. They emailed for a year. Then, 18 months ago, Elena flew to Charlotte. She told me about you, Diana whispered. A heartbroken smile flickered across her face, then vanished. showed me photos, said she was going to bring you next time, that she wanted to see your face. When she told you Elena had been planning a surprise, a gift, and then she came home on a Sunday, made coffee, and never got to give it. The sound that left me wasn't language, just grief, finding a new, terrible depth. I pressed my fist to my mouth. The gold light slowly faded across the floor. She never told me any of it. She wanted it to be perfect. Diana whispered, "A moment?" Instead, it became the thing that never happened. We sat for 2 hours. The city outside blurred from gold to orange to deep evening blue. We talked about Elena, the Elena she knew for one weekend, the Elena I knew for a lifetime. Diana laughed. Elena's surprised laugh. It hurt, but it also felt like proof she had existed, real, and known by more than just me. It made the losing both worse and more bearable. Somewhere in those 2 hours, I stopped flinching. I was just looking at Diana, not past her, not through her, at her, the woman who had searched for 20 years, found and lost in the same 18 months, drowning in the office above mine, in the same water. 3 weeks later, in the boardroom, facing the firm's legal team. Diana spoke. She told them everything. The DNA registry, the search, the single weekend. Her voice was precise, unshakable. Then, her gray eyes sweeping the room, she said, "You're looking at 2 people who lost the same woman. Without knowing they were grieving in parallel, what you'll find is 2 people trying to figure out how to be family to each other. When the person who was supposed to connect them isn't here anymore." The meeting dissolved. In the hallway, she held my gaze. "You spent 8 months protecting everyone else from your pain. It was time someone returned the favor." 3 weeks after that, we had dinner. Not a date, just 2 people, setting down a shared weight. Diana chose the restaurant, the same one she and Elena had gone to. We ordered what Elena had ordered. We talked about her for 3 hours, cried once each, never acknowledging it. Walking back to our cars, streetlights casting long shadows. Diana said quietly, she told me she'd married someone who made her feel like the most interesting person in any room. I thought she was exaggerating. She looked at me, Elena's surprised smile ghosting across her lips. Was she? No, I said. She wasn't. The ache was a scar now, pressed, proving something healed. 6 months after the boardroom, we sat on my back porch, the one Elena had planned to renovate, the one I'd finally started. Diana, head tilted, studied my sketches. "You still see her sometimes," she murmured. "Sometimes," I admitted, "less than I used to. Mostly now, I see you." The words hung there, suspended. "Is that okay?" The silence stretched, thick with unspoken longing. With the risk of everything, I thought of Elena, who had wanted us to know each other. Betrayal or continuation? Elena was going to introduce us, I said finally. She had a plan. Diana's eyes met mine, gray-silver in the fading light. She just didn't plan on being absent for the introduction. "No?" I whispered. She didn't. We sat in a silence that was full, a rhythm found, though its name remained unsaid. A year after that Thursday morning, I stopped describing Diana as similar to Elena. They shared a face. Yes, the gray eyes, the scar, the surprised laugh, a biological inheritance. But Diana was not Elena. Diana walked straight through difficult truths. Elena circled them gently. Diana took her coffee black. Elena's was a sacred ritual. They were different. And I loved Diana for exactly who she was. I told her that on a Sunday morning in my kitchen while she made coffee black. No ceremony. She turned and I looked back. No flinching. No grief, pulling my gaze away. Just her. Just Diana. You're looking at me differently. I'm looking at you. I said, just you. Her eyes brightened. A familiar shield dropping. For a fraction of a second. Does it still hurt? Sometimes, I admitted, but not the way it used to. It used to hurt. Because seeing you meant losing Elena all over again. Now it hurts, because you matter to me. And mattering is terrifying. When you already know what losing feels like. She was quiet, then crossed the kitchen, stood before me. The heat of her clothes, her breath a soft whisper against the silence. Elena told me that weekend, the best thing that ever happened to her was marrying someone who wasn't afraid of the real version of things. Who chose honest over comfortable? Every time, her gaze unwavering lifted to mine. I think she was setting us up. I think she was, I said. Diana took my hand. Her touch a contained urgency. 2 years now. Grief doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. But I go in. Every morning, I go in. Diana has a photo on her desk now. Elena and Diana, taken on their one weekend together. Elena laughing, Diana watching her with pure, uncomplicated joy. I put it there. Diana found it, straightened it by 1 degree, and never moved it. My boss asked me why I kept avoiding her. Looking at Diana still hurts sometimes. It probably always will, but it's a good hurt now. The kind that reminds you you're alive. The kind that means you're feeling something real enough to be afraid of losing. The kind of hurt that is just love. With its guard down, Elena built the bridge between us, trusting we were stubborn enough to cross. She wasn't wrong. Diana stayed in the room for the honest answer. She defended me. She came back to the restaurant, ordered what Elena ordered, and let herself cry once. She showed up every single time, and maybe that was always going to be the beginning of everything.